Okay, you've definitely seen the headlines. You've heard the name Jeffrey Epstein. And, let's be honest, you've probably been left with a ton more questions than answers. It's a story just tangled up in rumors and speculation. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise.
So let's just dive in and tackle the biggest questions head on. What are these so-called Epstein files that everyone's talking about? And, maybe the most important question of all, what do they actually prove based on cold, hard facts?
Our whole mission here is really simple. We're separating the actual evidence from all the speculation. We're going to draw a really clear line between what is a verifiable, documented fact and the wild theories that have just exploded around this story. We're sticking to what we know for sure.
Right, so before we can even get into the files, we have to understand the man at the center of this whole thing. So who was Jeffrey Epstein really? Let's take a look at what we can actually truly verify.
And this is where things get, well, kind of weird. On paper, the facts seem simple enough. Epstein was a wealthy American financier. But right away, there are these huge question marks. I mean, where did all that money even come from? He didn't have an obvious company or a public list of clients, and yet he built this absolutely staggering network of connections. We're talking politicians, royalty, top scientists, CEOs, and of course, he lived this life of unbelievable luxury with mansions, that infamous private island, and his own private jets that flew him and his powerful friends all over the globe.
Now, this is a point we have to make right now, and it is absolutely critical. Having a massive, powerful network of friends, that's not a crime in itself. The kind of access he had was bizarre, for sure, but just knowing him or traveling with him was not illegal. That's a super important baseline for understanding everything that's coming next.
So if just knowing him wasn't the crime, then what was? Well, that brings us to the next big piece of this puzzle, his actual documented legal history and the crimes that were actually proven.
So his legal troubles really hit the public radar back in 2008. That's when he pleaded guilty in a Florida state court to soliciting a minor. The plea deal he got, wow, it was wildly controversial and even let him leave jail for work. Then, fast forward to 2019, and the whole story just explodes. He gets arrested again, but this time on much, much more serious federal charges of sex trafficking minors. But before that case could ever go to trial, he was found dead in his jail cell. His death was officially ruled as suicide.
Okay, so here's the key legal point. Epstein's death meant the criminal case against him personally was over. But, and this is a huge but, it did not stop the civil lawsuits that were brought by his victims. And that is where these documents come from. The courts kept ordering them to be released as part of those ongoing civil cases, and that's the only reason we're even seeing them today.
Okay, so that brings us to the main event. What exactly are people talking about when they say the Epstein Files? Let's break it down.
Yeah, it's not like one single manila folder labeled The Files. It's more of a catch-all name for this huge, sprawling collection of stuff from those civil lawsuits. We're talking court records, sworn testimony from depositions, private emails, the infamous flight logs from his jets, you name it. All of this was sealed away for years, but judges have been slowly ordering it all to be unsealed and made public.
All right, now we get to what is, without question, the single most important part of this whole explainer. You have to understand the massive difference between an allegation that's mentioned in a document and actual legal evidence of guilt. This is everything.
If you only take away one single thing from our conversation today, please make it this. Just because someone's name shows up in these documents, it does not automatically mean they are guilty of any crime. Period.
And this slide shows you exactly why. I mean, look on the left. A name can pop up for a million mundane reasons. Maybe they were at the same party, maybe their flight path overlapped, maybe they were just mentioned in a scheduling email between two other people, or it could just be someone else mentioning their name in passing. Now look at the right. What proves legal guilt? It's one thing and one thing only, a verdict in a court of law after a full trial with due process, not public opinion and not from being named in a document dump.
Now, you'll hear a lot about these things called affidavits, where some of the most shocking claims come from. So what is that? Well, an affidavit is just a story someone tells while under oath. It's legally significant, of course, but it is not a verdict. It's just one person's side of the story. That claim still has to be tested in court, it has to be cross-examined, it has to be proven. And in this case, a whole lot of these claims are either flat out denied or they simply remain unproven.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The U.S. Department of Justice itself put out an official warning to the public saying that these files can, and often do, contain statements that are totally unverified or actively being disputed. They are raw information, not the final conclusion.
Okay, So if these files aren't just some simple list of guilty people, then why do we care? Why do they matter so much? Well, to answer that, we really need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture here.
You see, the real importance of these files isn't about playing Spot the Celebrity. It's about what they reveal about our systems. They're like a masterclass in how incredible wealth and power can buy you access and influence, how our institutions can sometimes tragically fail to protect victims, and how the secrecy of the legal system can be used as a shield to protect the reputations of the powerful.
And if you need any more proof that these files aren't just a simple list of criminals, this slide says it all. The number of new criminal convictions that have happened directly and only because of these document releases, the number is 0. A big fat 0. They've definitely sparked investigations, no question, but they haven't been the magic bullet that a lot of people were hoping for.
At the end of the day, this whole complicated, messy story really comes back to one fundamental idea. These files show us a very dark and disturbing world where money, power, and secrecy all collide. But you know what? They're also a really powerful reminder of something we can't ever afford to forget. Real justice is built on evidence, not on speculation. So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. If we can manage to look past all the individual names and the dizzying allegations, what do these files really force us to confront about the systems of power, wealth, and secrecy that are running just beneath the surface of our world?